And welcome to the energy that surrounds us. I'm your host, Michael, and we're in for quite an adventure tonight. And it is my distinct pleasure and honor to introduce you all to a guest who this is her first appearance on this show. She made her first appearance on Riding Through the Unknown, and you know her as the channeler Starseed Lø Lø. So I'm going to turn it over to allow her to introduce herself to you all. The phenomenal, the amazing Starseed Lø Lø.
Thank you, Michael. You are amazing for saying all that. My name is Laura, and I'm an author as my name, Laura Ferguson. I'm also a musician, singer-songwriter as Starseed Lø Lø, hence that different name. And I also do channeling with Michael for 30-minute channeling sessions every other Tuesday. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. And yeah, we had a channeling session earlier. And so I hope you all are enjoying learning and experiencing different star races and cultures with that. I sometimes wonder, do we consider them cultures, or how do we define them? Because I feel like that's a label we use, and they don't.
Well, they are another version of us. So they don't see separation like we do. They're, more like a hive mentality. But the ones that we communicate with primarily have been humanoids. And so they're, more closely related to us than like an insectoid being or something like that.
Which is very helpful because we sometimes, okay, I'll be honest, a lot of times we need all the help we can get.
Yeah, we do.
So I know we talked a little bit about your background on Riding Through the Unknown, and if you could give a quick overview of what got you started into the music and the channeling for our audience here tonight.
Well, the music actually stemmed from my writing. In 2023, I came out with a Conscious Kid book series based on my son Zane. And I've always loved music. And in early 2024, I said, why don't I write a song and go record it? And that's when I still lived in California before moving to Florida. And it sounded decent, but, I was new. And it kind of spun off to joining this social media for musicians called BandLab. And then I met my current producer. Shout out to him because he's excellent. Charles J. Cliff. He's in Toronto, Canada area, I believe. And Carlos Alsina Batista. He's in Puerto Rico. And he's our guitarist and singer on some songs. And now I'm doing collaborations with a whole bunch of other people.
That's amazing. And I love your modesty of saying, yeah, it was okay. I'm like, from what I've heard, okay is like phenomenal or like professional, like you should be on the stage performing to millions of people in a crowd.
I appreciate it. I remember you watched my live where I was like doing the Little Mermaid and Disney renditions, and you seem to enjoy that. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. I honestly, that one that we're talking about, I was like, man, Disney should have hired you.
Oh, hi, Kelly. I saw her pop up on your feed. She's one of my BandLab bandmates, and she's a rapper. She goes by Rap Battle Bitch, and she's amazing.
Very cool. And you got Created Search It Video also saying hello.
Oh, hi. I think they're from Snapchat.
So tonight, as I'm getting used to this, folks, is having topics set aside, and we'll try our best to stick to the topics, but I can't guarantee it. And so I think it's kind of interesting because the channeling earlier, not to give too much away because I think people enjoy watching it, I think kind of led into what we're going to be talking about tonight a little bit. And so, do you want to get started kind of talking about your viewpoints of judgment and how it stops manifesting? And
Yeah. Unconditional love opens up any door that we want. Therefore, when we do the opposite, including self-judgment, and then judge others, which is a reflection of ourselves, generally we judge what we don't like in ourselves, and that reflects back from the universe. So we deal with it. But the more we judge ourselves or others or both, the lower our frequency. And instead of manifesting up here what we want, we're going to be down here feeling stuck. And it's physically impossible for energy to be stuck.
And so, what are some ways? Because I know nobody's perfect. As much as we try to live judgment free, even in that statement, there's judgment. And so, what are some of the things that you do to help limit or prevent yourself or stop yourself from going into judgment?
I pause, I take a time out, and sometimes I leave wherever I'm at, whoever I'm with, or I redirect myself to make myself happier in the moment, such as turning on music or singing.
Very cool. And for we have a society where I think some people feel like I don't judge anybody, and I don't know why everyone's focusing on judgment. Do you have any advice or any insights for those people who feel that way?
Who feel that they're focusing on judgment too much?
Or feel like they're not judging, and they feel like they don't judge. They're free of judgment, and don't know why everybody says, "Oh, we need to get free of judgment."
Well, it's kind of funny you say that because you're bringing up hypocrisy. And normally, the most judgmental people are the biggest hypocrites, which mean that they're in denial, not only of judgment, but everything in life, including themselves. And they're out of touch with reality, their feelings. They're basically the opposite of an empath. And it's their path. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah, I find that statement funny because we were talking earlier, and I have two little dogs, and they'll look at me like we're thirsty, and I'm like, I'll pour water into the bowl, and I'll say, "Here, come here, check this out," and they will go and drink water. I'm like, I can lead dogs to drink. And so it's like it makes me go, I wonder if that would work with a horse.
Yeah, I think if you lead a horse, and I've only ridden one a few times, but if you lead them with their little, rope or whatever, then most of the time if they're thirsty, they'll drink. But if they're not thirsty, they probably won't. Just like people, and people have all different frequencies. I just want to give a shout out to my other bandmate, Toon Skull. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, and
I didn't know I could chat with them. I just saw
yeah,
comments for the first time, Michael.
yeah. I can see their comments and I can put them up, but
But I can see them too.
right.
I
I
didn't.
just, when we're doing the channeling, I don't put them up because you like to create those shorts, and so I feel like, oh, the short, we don't want someone's comment on the bottom, so I answer them on the side if I
You
can.
can't.
Now,
You can't answer. You can't answer mine though on my
right.
YouTube. Okay. Yeah, it's probably better when I'm channeling not to have them up, especially if it's going to distract me. Unless people sneak in, a question right before I close my eyes.
Yeah, so we are on StreamYard, and so I do have it so the guest can see the chat room. I can disable that, but I don't see the need as a host to,
Did you say that? You said.
hmm?
Sorry to interrupt you, but legitpodcast.com.
That is one of the networks I air to.
Okay. Because they asked, are we a fan of all things paranormal? Which I am, and I know you are, because you're a paranormal investigator.
Yeah. That actually is an ad for, and I'll put it up for everybody so we can know what we're talking about. It's an ad for the network. So if you're interested in these things, it's to get you to go to legitpodcast.com and check out other shows that they're doing. It's a really cool network, actually.
Nice. I'll check it out.
Oh, and we have now Dark Music Kelly fan
Oh, yeah, that's
popping in
Rhett
from.
Belovich.
So, what do you think is one of the reasons why we tend to get stuck in judgmental phases?
Because we're going through dark night of the soul, which is the first step of a spiritual awakening. A lot of people call it a midlife crisis or whatnot, but it's actually a spiritual awakening. And the first step to that is what Dr. Carl Jung said, nigredo, which in Latin means dark or black, which is depression. And when we're feeling our lowest of our low, we can propel faster. Therefore, trauma has a purpose to propel us faster and faster if we ride that wave and we go up quicker.
Very cool. And so, what are some ways? I know you talked about music and other things, but what are some ways that we can identify that we're starting to get stuck in the judgmental phase or going into judgments?
For me, when I'm having a bad day, a mood swing, what have you, that just means I need to do inner work and spend alone time. And when you get to that point, because you don't want to see any other people, you don't want to talk to any other people. And then when you do, you project and lash out on them because they're a reflection of you and they're only reflecting back, excuse me, what you need to work on within yourself. You call it shadow work or whatever you want.
Okay, and so how, and I know this is going to sound like a trick question, and it's really not, but it seems like everything we say can be viewed as judgment. So, how can we actually truly get to a place of judgment free?
Well, it's like a swinging pendulum. There's discernment, and then there's judgment. Discernment is purely making a choice that's for the best of all involved. That's all it is. It doesn't necessarily have negative feelings or emotions to it, connected to it. So discernment is different in that distinction. Judgment generally comes with negative connotations, feelings, which stems from beliefs, which means that we need to look within ourselves, including me. What is my negative belief that are causing these negative feelings of judgment of myself and others?
Now, the second half of what we were going to be talking about, I think, is kind of a more highly charged topic because it's something that I think a lot of people get stuck really deeply in and get overwhelmed in more than the judgment, and that is fear. And fear stopping manifesting. So, what does that look like in your perspective?
Fear, like judgment, is a buzzkill to what we want to manifest, period. It might even be worse than judgment because judgment is a side effect of fear. Fear is a symptom. No. Fear is the problem. Judgment is a symptom of that.
And I have to say, to me, the best definition of fear comes from a movie, Dune. I don't know if you've ever seen it, where they say fear is the mind killer. I'm like, that to me totally sums up what fear is. Now, keep in mind though, we're not saying all fear is the mind killer. There are healthy fears, like, the fear of putting your hand on a burning stove or into a fire. That's a very useful to keep you from being hurt fear. But we're talking about the fears that you're like, oh, I can't go suggest this to my boss because I may lose my job. So somebody else takes credit for your work because you were afraid to speak up. Those are the type of fears that we're talking about, are the mind killers that limit yourself.
The one that I love is I don't want to tell people my idea because they're going to steal it. Therefore, nobody ever finds out about their idea. And they could have been maybe rich, maybe famous.
Very true, yeah.
And so that one annoys me a lot because somebody said that on Facebook, like, oh my gosh, this girl is copying me. And I'm like, look at the Kardashians. They literally do nothing and they're like multimillionaires and they want people to copy them and they make money off of it. So copying could be a good thing and very lucrative. Just depends on your perspective of it.
It is. And it's also kind of showing the sad state of affair of where our country is. That we are taking such pleasure in wanting to emulate people who just don't do anything and think that's what we need to model ourselves after. It's like, really, that's where we're going right now.
Yeah. After the real world came out, there was no reality TV. There's so much acting in it. You can't even call it that anymore.
I don't know, we've kind of redefined reality to whatever the script is. And this is one of those moments where I know I'm probably going to lose a lot of the millennials and newer generations because I'm going to go to a really old source for this one, and that is Shakespeare, who I'm now starting to think of as a whistleblower for what was to come, because he would say life is but a stage, and we're but the actors playing a role. And if you look at the world today, it's like that's exactly what we are. We're playing roles in this movie that's unfolding, and there is no real reality anymore.
Yeah, it's a matrix. The experience is real, but it's a matrix. And it's in your perspective to the individual. So your world and my world are different. And even identical twins have different experiences, which is amazing.
And so I kind of, I like to leave everybody with hope and positivity, even if it sounds bleak. It's like there is still hope. And so, when we're talking about fear, it creeps in the mind. It's in everybody's mind. Everybody has it. Anyone who tells you they're not afraid of anything is either a NPC or an empty shell or somebody who is seriously sailing the Nile, because nobody can be in existence with a soul and have no fear. But what are some things that we can do to kind of help ourselves deal with the fear or overcome the fear, in your opinion?
Healthy distractions, live in your highest passion, moment to moment. Doesn't have to be a big thing, it could be something small. Whatever makes you happy. You go down a rabbit hole and stay positive, and it'll lead you to good places. It really is as simple as that, but easier said than done.
Right, because when you said rabbit hole, I was like, oh, those can be dangerous. You gotta watch which rabbit holes you fall in, because you'll learn stuff you didn't necessarily want to learn. You need to learn, but you didn't want to learn.
That's right. Because your higher self will give you what you need, not necessarily what you want, until you're aligned with that. And when you're aligned with your higher self, what you need and want merge together.
Yeah, and one of your friends has an interesting comment here. Honestly, to tell you the truth, you don't ever have to live in fear. Fear is the mind. Fear is what you bring to the mind, invite to the mind. That's actually true.
That is true. It comes from a belief. Then you can make your beliefs anything you want.
Yeah, and they're obviously a fan of your channelings, because they say this very comment. If it doesn't exist in your mind, then it doesn't exist in your soul. And actually, they'll say it doesn't exist in your environment.
That's right.
So, yeah, I pay attention.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, creative or create it. We make our reality what we want it to be, which includes how we feel, how we think, and how it stems from our beliefs. Who's in charge of our beliefs but our own and ourselves?
Yeah, that's Toon Skull. That said that.
Yeah, it's Toon Skull.
And and the thing that's interesting about fear, and it's one of my favorite things to look at it about it, and I'm talking third person, stepping back and looking at it, is you can go and you will find someone who is definitely afraid of water, but will join the Navy, which operates on water. Or you'll find people who are afraid of dogs and they'll volunteer, to do stuff with dogs. And you're like looking at this person and you're like, what are you doing? Why are you torturing yourself? And that's the judgment we come up with. But in reality, it's like, I don't even think we realize and see that, wow, that person is either trying to face their fear, overcome their fear, or were forced into it because sometimes, military service is not voluntary because of stuff that they have done. And so there's always that. And so it's interesting how our perceptions can sometimes cloud how we see fear, is where I'm going with that.
Yes, can fear be healthy if it motivates you to be better and pushes you? I think a healthy dose of it can be good if you turn it that way. It's like spinning hay into gold.
Ooh, we're getting into alchemy. No, but in all honesty, people who have known me since I grew up, if you asked anyone when I was a little kid, would you ever be behind a screen talking to people all over the world about stuff? I would have looked at you and been like, no way. That's not me. I'm not cool enough. I'm not popular enough. No one's going to be really interested in me. I'm just simple old me. And I finally decided one day, hey, someone is, wanting me to do a podcast. They're obviously seeing something I'm not seeing. Maybe we should give it a try and give it a go. And here we are 4 seasons later, and I've met a lot of great people and had a lot of great guests. And I'm like, my world is personally better because I faced the fear of, being on screen and putting myself out there. But at the same time, I'm also careful of what I put out and how I put it out. So there is a little bit still there.
I get it. When these Zoom meetings started, when I still worked a government corporate job in 2021, I would literally have an anxiety attack and run away from the Zoom camera when I had to turn my camera on.
Yeah, and I mean, look at you now. You're making music videos.
Yeah. Way past that now.
But I personally, hearing, what you're, and seeing what you're doing, what I'm doing, it's like I can't help but look at, and think right now, as we're talking about, facing fears and having healthy fears, we're like living that example because we're not like the Kardashians and putting everything out there for the world to see, but yet we're putting enough of ourselves out there that people are gravitating to our authenticity, to our our truths and our vulnerabilities. And so to me, that's the greater gift. And when people ask me, how many views did you get on, this episode? I'm like, well, it was a week ago. I could have had 100. And they're like, is that a lot? I'm like, yeah. But could it be more? It could be, but I'm not here to share my story to say, oh, I need 1,000 viewers to do this or to keep talking about this. No, I'm of the place like Laura is where the views will come when they come, when they're needed to come. And so my goal of the show is today, tomorrow, 6 months from now, 6 years from now, or 60 years from now, if the internet is still what it is. People can watch this, benefit from it, and be like, wow, what they're talking about is still relevant today. And not the, oh, I'm wearing this jeans from this company, and so you should go and buy. Because that's not going to last. Nobody's going to care about that after a certain amount of time. But what Laura and I are doing will last the time, I think.
Yeah. And if you think you are, then you are. And if you think you aren't, then you aren't. And being an empath and an introvert, which most empaths are, it's not easy to get on camera and go live. It's really not. But people can tell when you're authentic, like you're saying. Like, I'm not willing to put a commercial in my podcast. I'm not. I don't care how much money they pay me. I'm not putting no commercial. Oh, let's stop. Oh, buy this shaving cream and blah, 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 and this annoying infomercial. No, it's not worth it to me.
Well, not only that, I feel like, an example
Sarah.
is
That's my friend
your
Sarah.
music, you're putting your reputation into your music, let's say. I'm putting myself and reputation into these shows. And if I'm sitting here saying, this, about the world, and then I go and have a commercial for something that's totally against everything I just said, I feel like, yeah, I can't endorse something I don't actually use or believe in. And so it's like I kind of dread the day when I do become monetized and they're like, yeah, we're just going to put these ads in there. Because I'm like, I don't want people thinking I'm endorsing these ads that are going in the shows because I don't control that. And so that's like, and that's is a fear that may be holding me back, but it's a fear though that I don't want someone to buy something and then say, well, I saw it on your program, you endorsed it when I didn't. And that would tarnish my reputation, I feel. So that's the fear I have of it, is being tarnished by something I have no control over.
Yeah, I can see that. I just feel like it's cheesy and like being a sellout just for a little bit of chunk change,
Yeah, and so you heard it here, guys. If you're seeing ads on this, neither one of us have endorsed these ads, so don't go thinking we're controlling the ads you're seeing. We have zero control.
That's right. Because if you don't have the paid version of YouTube, which is owned by Google, which that merger happened, I believe, 2021 or so, which was big for Google, you're going to see commercials. And you can tell they're not us because they're like a real commercial. And then say, click below. And Michael's totally right. We have no control over that. We don't know what they are or when they pop up. And we're sorry about that.
Yeah, and
Thank you, Google.
And I also have to say thank you, Google, because I might be in the middle of a profound sentence and it'll cut to commercial. And then you gotta skip it. Thankfully, you can skip it, and then it'll come back, and you're like, and it doesn't like go back a few seconds. It just starts up again. So you're like, I could be talking, and then it's like, hey, let's get this sneaker. Hey, check out this blender. And then I'm back going, this comment is like really profound. And I'm like, it totally loses value because it's been interrupted.
That's right. Mid-sentence, they don't care. Boom. This is what you get for non-aging pills or whatever they want to put on there.
Oh, I would be totally laughing if that actually comes on this show now. If that's one of the ads that's on this today. I'll be like, man, she's channeling the commercials now.
Well, if you don't have the paid YouTube, you're welcome to rewatch it and see when they pop up.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do have the paid YouTube because not to talk bad about YouTube, but I find it really interesting that if I upload an episode or air something on YouTube, that's mine. I have to pay to get it off of YouTube.
What?
I've always found that very, very interesting because I'm paying to get my own stuff off of an online service that I uploaded to and needed to download because I lost the original file. And that always is so bizarre to me.
You're just paying to be able to download your episode or one that you deleted?
No, so like, say a drive gets damaged and I lost all my shows. I can't go to YouTube and say, oh, hey, let's just download this and we'll rebuild the episode library. No, not on the free version. On the paid version, I can download my episodes and other episodes I'm on, but that's what's so bizarre is because it's my creation, they make me pay to download it.
There was a comment about my crystal. I'm just showing it to them.
So
It's a rose
Starseed
quartz
Stone.
from Quartzite Mine, Arizona, straight from the mine. I have a couple of them. And rose quartz is basically love because it's pink. It's a big one.
So I actually have a question for you talking about crystals. Do you feel like, when we see shows like Superman or Stargate, where the crystals they are inserted in and they make machines work, do you think that crystals actually do store information within them?
I don't think I know. They're piezoelectronic, which is why crystal quartz is used in cell phones and other electronics, and they store terabytes of information, which is why the crystal skulls, 13 crystal skulls, the real ones, are very important to this version of Earth. In the future, we're going to be using data storage by lasering onto crystal quartz. And in my book, there's a crystal quartz highway that is a literal highway that used to power the Earth, during the time of Atlantis.
Through the ley lines, right?
Not necessarily the ley lines, because energy is free and found everywhere. Those are more like portals, like stronger portal sections of the earth, like Mount Shasta, Giza Plateau, Machu Picchu, those kind of places. But quartz works anywhere.
There was a show. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. There was a show, Librarians, where it kind of made you think outside the box, and that a lot of the myths and legends were actually real and that magic was real. And one of the episodes, they talked about ley lines being like anchor points for the magic and everything in the world. Do you think that, that's true, that there's the ley lines crossing so many points because it's anchoring it to this world?
All right, Kelly. Thank you for checking us out. Have a good night.
Thank you for watching.
I've been to Mount Shasta more than a few times. It's 14,138 feet up in the air, which is very high. And you definitely feel like you're like in the fifth dimension rather than the lower fourth dimension when you're there. It's like going from black and white to high definition Technicolor. Like everything is so green and clear, clean, and crisp. And I used to live in Alaska. And it's even more so than Alaska. It's like you feel like you're on another planet. And that's one of those energy points. Another one is a Grand Canyon. I actually drove by it to go to Sedona, which is a beautiful, vortex. And there's vortices there and all the canyons like the Boynton Canyon, the Vortex Canyon. I think the other one's like an airport canyon or something. Magical places. I could feel the Grand Canyon's energy from like 30 miles away. I literally feel it. And I didn't even go to the Grand Canyon. I just drove past an exit for it, on the way to Prescott and all that area. So yes, there is something special about these anchor points. They are portals. You can access other dimensions there if you meditate. You can astral travel there. You can have possible contact experiences. The list goes on.
No, we didn't really get into this with Riding Through the Unknown, and I'm going to kind of cross shows for a second because, we're talking about portals and vortices and everything. Do you think that some of these anchor points are like entrances to another level on our planet?
The entrances within, if you're talking like initiation, the only person who holds you back from not being initiated to where you want to be is yourself. And you don't have to go to Mount Shasta or Giza Plateau or any physical place. You can do it right in your home from within.
Very cool, because I mean, we're hearing now stories of like civilizations living underneath our civilization layer on the planet, and so I've often wondered, they say there's entrances all over, and they correspond to anchor points, and that's where the energy is such that if you can't stand the energy up here, it keeps you from going down below.
Yeah, they slipwalk like Sasquatch, Lemurians, and they can slipwalk fourth and fifth dimension hop. That's why all of a sudden you'll see a Sasquatch video from far away, a real video, and then they just, kind of fade off into the fifth dimension. And since they can slipwalk, it's the same thing with Inner Earth as well.
Okay, and so do you feel, and I mean, this is gonna sound strange because you're a musician, so it's like I feel like your answer is kind of biased and skewed, but they talk about mathematics or music is the universal language. Do you feel that when you're doing your music that you are resonating and communicating or sharing with more than just our density or our dimension here and now?
Definitely. I was an accountant for 20 years before I was a musician. So I'm a numbers nerd. And I will go down a hole talking about 10 base math versus 12 base math. I'm a nerd out. And I used to, hand calculate statistics. The universal language is math. Now, music is frequency, sound, color. Music is a part of sound. Any sound that we generate lasts forever in every infinite dimension.
When you do your music, do you focus on a certain frequency that you want it aired at, or do you just let it go and have the intention that it's going to be the highest no matter what frequency it's heard on?
I just go by how I feel and what I'm hearing. I'll go through 29 songs like I did earlier today until there's one that I like that I made. Sometimes I go through 5 songs. Sometimes I go through 50 songs. It just depends. If I feel that I don't like any of the songs, I go back another day, and it's just based on feeling for me. Hi, Lyric Luminary Latin. Hola a todos. Hola, Tunsko. ¿Cómo estás, Lyric?
So I know this is, a strange question because it's hard. Everyone's is different, but when you go to write music, do you feel like one of the groups you're channeling is like, hey, here's the topic, and then the lyrics just come to you with that topic and they're helping you? Or do you feel like, oh, they're just giving you the topic and the lyrics you come up with and are like, oh wow, it's kind of interesting, it's synchronistic with what they're talking about?
For me, everything comes from the higher self. The human mind is not driving the bus. It's all our higher self. So if you have an inkling or a thought or an idea, that comes from your higher self. And your intuition is what guides you. And it's your choice to follow that or not. Like when I was writing my book, my higher self would say, write that down. And I'm like, no, I don't want that person to die. And they're like, yes, that's how it happened. And so I would write how, my higher self wanted it. With music, I'm a lot more laissez-faire. And it's a lot more fun and easygoing for me, not as serious. Some songs are very serious and personal. And there are synchronicities that go with the songs when I'm making them, like Villainize about the Salem witch trials. And I'm still recording that song, but I started recording it a few weeks ago. And then they channeled about the Salem witch trials. So there you go.
And so how long I say how long. So what has been the fastest that you've actually written a song, and how long on average does it take? Because I know a lot of people are like, I don't have the time to devote to this. And I think if they knew how long it really took, people who are doing it, they might, take the chance and step into it.
Honestly, since I was a report writer and an investigator and auditor, and then I wrote children's books, which was fun. 5 minutes, I could write a song. And I would just kick them out 5 minutes, 5 minutes. I just had to look up the structure of them, like what a verse is, what a bridge is, and all that stuff's on the internet. And now I sometimes use AI for lyrics, but 99% of my songs I hand wrote on a note in my phone.
So are you one of those that's like could walk by and you're like, hey, there's a song there, and you'll just sit there and just write it out? You just stop and write?
Yep. Or if I wake up, 2 in the morning and I have an idea for a song, or I'm driving, I'll pull over and I'll text myself a note about it. I'm like, oh, that's a good hook or a good chorus. And, I have a song called Annie Oakley. I love Annie Oakley. I'm from the, Southwest and West, and I want to preserve some of that being in Florida. And she was a bit of a badass, with
Oh yeah,
her
she was.
shooting. Yeah.
She was a
And so I'm
sharpshooter.
writing a song about her. Yeah. One of the best in the, what is it? Buffalo Wild Bill West show.
Yeah,
And I have
Buffalo
a real,
Bills.
is that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah, Buffalo Bills Wild West show.
Yeah. And so some people are like, it's called Annie Oakley. And I'm like, yeah. And then some of them will ask me, who is that? Mostly it's the foreigners. And then I'm like, oh my God, you have to see her. Here's a video of her shooting, like 6 plates in like 6 seconds. It's amazing. And
Yeah,
so that's a learning opportunity.
she was one of the first ones too to do it while on a horse and at full gallop.
And she would split cards, literally, a playing card, split it from the side.
Yeah, and what's sad is the current generation is probably sitting here wondering what we're even talking about, because all of this is foreign to them.
Well, maybe they'll go look it up when I release the song, and they'll be like, what is she singing about? This woman, shooting cards and lighting flames. And then that'll spur them to go, look, who Annie Oakley is. And my
Yeah,
higher self said, write about her. You love her. You're in the military. I don't like guns or anything, but I did shoot, at the range in the military. And, it's just a cool song.
no, I think it's great that you're preserving history that way, because there's so many books written, and it's almost to the point where it's like, I don't know what to read because I don't know what, skew this person's putting into it or bias this person's putting into it. And so we've lost the ability to pick up a story and go, okay, so this is the truth. What am I going to think about it? And how am I going to relate it to a world where we pick it up and it's already biased for us and we don't have to think about it? Somebody did it for us without asking us.
That's right. But that's really everything. Even stuff we see on our phone, videos, YouTube, everything. It's not really what matters. I mean, what happens, it's what you do with it.
Right, like you said earlier, you have to use your discernment, and really what we're talking about there is I use the term resonance or resonates with you, and all it means is your gut feeling, your intuition, your soul is looking at this and saying, yes, there is truth here. So then you keep that and you can get rid of all the rest and just find your own truth and pick up books and read and listen to podcast stories and audio stories and, find the truth that works for you, and just don't find the truth that fits the script that you think you're supposed to be living, because you can find that too.
That's right. It's doing yourself a disservice if you're not being you.
And so we're almost at the hour, so I don't know if you're wanting to run over the hour or if you're wanting to call it a night, because you are in Florida, so you are an hour ahead of me.
No, I'm Central Time. I'm in the Panhandle, the little pocket by Panama City Beach where it's central. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That always confuses me that Florida has that dividing line of Central and Eastern.
Yeah, basically when you hit Tallahassee, it goes eastern, like 30 minutes from us. But when you're heading toward Pensacola, then it goes, central again. And we're almost to like Alabama and Georgia.
Okay. I have driven through there, so probably drove past your city and just never realized it.
Yeah, you did, because you're in Panama City. I can go over the hour a little bit if you want. It's up to you. And
Well, in transparency, you had asked before we went live if I wanted you to channel, and so I know you channeled earlier. You don't have to channel on this episode if you don't want to. I was just offering you, if you wanted to, we could switch over to that or keep the conversation going. So I was giving you a choice.
I'd rather keep the conversation going this time because we do channeling a lot on the other show, if that's okay.
No, I respect that, and that's totally fine. I just, like I said, I wanted to honor that you had asked that, and so I just didn't want you to think I was ignoring that request or
No,
thought that you
yeah,
had.
we're good. I didn't even remember asking that. You're funny.
I'm the host. I need to remember these things. I don't have to remember a lot, but I got to remember that.
Yeah,
No,
you pay
but
attention. That's good.
what are some? Here's an interesting thought for you. We hit a little bit about an example of how we were doing personal fears that were okay, healthy fears. What are some examples of those in your world that you think, people may not think of healthy fear or understand what a healthy fear is?
Well, for example, when you're driving, be a defensive driver, you kind of have to make assumptions that people are going to hit you and stuff like that. So that's a healthy fear. Keeps you alive and safe, right?
It is. And so what we're saying is, so the healthy fears are the ones that keep you safe. And so,
Yeah, because that's the fight or flight. The fight or flight is in our bodies because we did have to run away from, dangerous animals when we lived outside in huts and stuff. And that is still within our psyche and our being. And a fight or flight is meant to save your life every once in a while, not to have all that adrenaline, I believe it's called cortisol, pumping through your body all the time.
So why is it you think that in our generational time when we were growing up, to say UFO or alien, or we even had the concept Starseed back then, it was ETs was all we knew, was such a do not talk about topic, and today is more mainstream, in language and more accepted. Do you think it's the fear of it has gone away, or it's still there, but people are just choosing not to go into the fear?
It's not necessarily that it's going away. Our frequencies are raising higher and higher. And that means that you are making the choice to have the experience of that.
Okay, because I've noticed I was talking with some friends how today's generation, it's like they're throwing around phrases like UFO, UAP, you know, reptilians, and our generation, if we said those, we'd be getting a trip to the loony bin. And
Right?
so, it's amazing how I don't think they realize how much the world has changed like we do. And so that's where I wonder, because we faced the fear of having that and are coming forward now and not buying into the fear that it's more mainstream. And we do have to thank people like Eric Von Daniken, or several others who have gone public with this, and fought against people's fears and made it a topic of awareness. But do you feel like the new generation still has that, or do you think they're just still mind numbed and just going along with the verbiage of what everybody says that seems popular at the time?
Maybe a little both, depending on who you're around and your perspective at the time. Because my 10-year-old and my 8-year-old, the oldest one is a girl, very mature. And my son, he's the younger one, and he's on the spectrum. And they're both special in their own ways. They're very advanced. And when they tell me things like they see ghosts and they have questions about aliens and parallel lives, to them, I tell them what I think, but that it's up to them what they want to think. So they're autonomous and have an independent mind. And then I explain to them there's no reason to be in fear if you have an entity or an apparition or an energy. Just tell them to go to the light, and they have to leave you alone because you're a sovereign being and you have free will as they do. And your free will can tell them to go to the light. And that's what I told my son when he said, "Mom, are ghosts real? I see them, and I see one right now." And I'm like, just tell him to go to the light and he'll go to heaven. And so, normalizing the paranormal, which is actually a part of all reality and is actually normal, is actually normal to these younger ones nowadays. 1989, when I was in the second grade, if I would have gone to school talking about seeing ghosts and hearing footsteps at night and, alien stuff like that, you're right. they would have locked me up in the special classroom, and throw away the key.
Right. And to be honest, paranormal didn't even become a word that people were really even totally aware of until Ghostbusters came out, and that like blew the field wide open, I think, to people realizing that ghosts are real, they're around. And so yeah, I mean, we owe so much to so many little things throughout our growing up. But I wonder how many times do we actually sit back and think, thank you to those whose shoulders were able to have these discussions now on because of what you did, and really think about where we are today versus where we were in our case like 20 years ago or 30 years ago. We would not be having these conversations.
No, we wouldn't. Not openly. And it's beautiful. It is more accepting because this is the reality that we chose, and we're keeping our frequency high, such as the subject of being a witch. I had a sister call me a witch, and I don't talk to my extended family because I was worried about 4 or 5 years ago. What would they think? I have crystals, now I have tarot cards, and I was taught it was bad. That's just old programming. That's not my program. And I don't need to adopt that or keep that. So I had to reprogram myself into my intention is good. Hey, I'm a good witch. Who the hell cares if I have a crystal and 10 tarot card decks or whatever? My intentions are good. I'm a healer. I'm actually not a witch. But people that don't understand energy healing say that like it's a bad thing when it's actually not. They just have a misunderstanding of it, which is why I
You're
have the song Villainize.
Yeah, and you're right. And one of the things I actually had to say I thank Jeremy Renner and Hollywood for was they made that movie Hansel and Gretel, and Jeremy Renner's character is talking to a white witch who healed him and helped him, and he goes, "We just killed all the witches. We just hunted witches because witches were bad." And she goes, "So how many white witches, good witches did you kill?" He goes, "I didn't even know there was such a thing." And to me, that's where society and everything goes wrong, is we get blinded by, we hear one term used in a negative way a few times and we go, okay, this is bad. Well, no, a certain faction of it is bad. There is good to it too, but now the good is deemed bad because we judge it under one category. You're either good or you're bad. If you're a witch, you're bad. Well, that's not reality. And I have to say, in transparency, I, for the longest time, had a personal bias when it came to like the reptilians. I was like, I had so much history with them. I was like, kill them all. They're bad. Well, now I've come to realize there are actually good ones out there. And so I've had to rethink my approach to it. And so that's the beauty and the human spirit that we talk about and everything. Our ability to adapt and survive is not, we can be dropped in the woods and walk out of the woods and be okay, a week later, because we'll survive off the land. Yeah, that's part of it, but we can also change our minds, change our core beliefs, be based on what resonates with us now versus then. We're not cast in stone. We are programmable. And that's what we have. That's the human spirit we need to embrace and go into more. Do you agree, or do you have a different perspective of it?
I totally agree. If we don't love ourselves, how are we able to love others and get to that level of nirvana in the place that we want, which is as close to unconditional love as you can be without dying and crossing to the other side? We are living in a dream, just like when we're asleep. We never left source. We are still there. Therefore, we can paint the picture that we want.
So, why do you think, and I'm going to go back to music again just for a second, because I've noticed on my own experience, certain music has a deep impact on me. Like, I can hear Chariots of Fire and that famous song from that movie, and it's like my whole body starts to tingle, and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling like I'm in that moment. And, or I can hear, I think it's called Carmina Fortuna, and it's like my whole body is like, yes, I'm racing through the woods. Yes, I'm going after the grail. It's like it's like
Mhm.
the whole body goes into that mode. And other music, it's like I'll start to notice I'm driving 5 miles faster than I normally would because of the music that's on. Does music really have that much ability to override us and make us feel and get into moments we don't realize? Or is that the frequency of the music that's programming us to do stuff?
It's both. It's actually their frequency that is programming you in the moment. And the really cool thing is, there is no past and no future. So every time you re listen to that same song, you're recreating it and you're recreating that experience. And it's real for you every single time.
Because I always find it interesting, like Christmas music. Man, I loved this Christmas season going to sleep, and I would have Christmas music on the TV playing until the timer went off, and I'd feel so rested in the morning. And now that the Christmas channels are gone, their music channels are gone, I'm like, well, now how do I go to sleep? I've come accustomed to that, and it's like I miss it. It's like it's moments like that that makes me go, wow, I don't think I realize how much this music is really controlling me, so to speak.
It affects you because the frequency is hitting more of your senses than most things do.
And I don't know if you get involved in this, but there are those that say, the music, some producers have produced music to try and put us into fear mode and put us into depression or drive us to our not of the light, so to speak, energies. Do you feel like that's really out there and that that's something that people need to be aware of? Or do you think that was just somebody had a bad experience and now they've created a lot of hype around it?
It's relative to your perspective because most people can't even listen to heavy metal. But then there's that one person out of a million who goes to sleep to it. So it really depends on the person and what they consider, high frequency or something that calms them down, that kind of thing.
Okay. And so, is there any advice that you have to anyone who's wanting to become an author or write music or get into the music industry? Is there any advice from your own experiences that you'd like to share with them?
Yeah, being an author, just dedicate time, a couple hours a week or whatever you can. Write your book wherever you can. I did mine right on my phone, like as a note. Well, actually, as a Google document. And then I just updated the Google document as I went. And I found my illustrator on Facebook, and we won awards on, I think, 2 out of 3 of our kids' books, or 2 out of 2 of the ones we entered. And I'm still working with her. She's a freelancer. And you dedicate that time to writing, eventually you're going to finish. My adult novel, which is an audiobook now that I'm actually screenwriting, and actually the script is longer than the book now, which is kind of funny because they have extra scenes. That took me, I think, 2 years. My children's book took a weekend. So, they're different. And you just have more to write in a novel or a novelette than a children's book. But on a children's book, then you have the illustrations, which can take months, depending on, the illustrator. So keep writing, and eventually you'll be done. Now, on the music, I had someone ask me on Facebook the other day, how do you do your music? I told them one word, actually 2 words, BandLab app. They actually have a studio where you can, for free, make songs in BandLab app. So it's not just having a profile and meeting people. You can make the songs in there too.
That's actually really cool. And being an author myself, I will say I was afraid that nobody would want to read anything I wrote, so that kept me from writing. But then a friend told me they wrote a book and how it was cathartic and how they were able to write about experiences without feeling and all the feelings coming back up. And so hearing that got me to go, well, maybe it is time to put pen to paper. And there is some cathartic sense to it, and a weight lifted off of you when you finish. Then you're like, wow, I actually put this out. And that, yeah, and the other advice I would have is don't write because you think people will read it. Write it because you want to write it and you want to read it. Because if you write it for other people, you're going to get stuck and you're going to get in your head a lot. But if you write it for yourself, I think you'll be amazed at how fast it comes out.
You're right. You're right about writing for yourself.
And I'm sure that goes for you with the music too.
100%. If I write a song like Annie Oakley or Villainize, it's for me, even if nobody else listens to it. However, if they do, I appreciate it, of course.
Oh, yeah. I appreciate everyone that's bought one of my books, and I am in the process of writing another one, and I'm actually surprised I only have like 3 chapters left to write. And I started it this month, and I'm like kind of surprising myself that I could actually write a book in a month. And
That's crazy.
I I will admit in transparency, I'm not writing on it every day. I probably have written on it maybe 10 to 12 days out of the fact we're on day 20 of the month. So you just have to sit down and just let it go. And I will admit I don't worry about grammar and editing and the editing and the spelling. I just get the words, the message down, and then I have friends that will edit it for me, and I'm like, yeah, I make corrections that resonate with me, and if it doesn't, I'm like, okay, I know this is probably wrong, but it's how I'm getting it, so my language, so deal with it.
That's right. I do that too. I kind of do like a rough draft. So I get through the whole thing and then do edits, normally with one of my attorney friends.
Yeah, and
then the screenwriting, that's a whole nother animal.
oh yeah, I couldn't even imagine getting into that.
If
Writing
you can write a book,
dialogue.
yeah, you can. No, you can do it. Actually, it's easier than writing a book when you get the format with the template and the software.
Huh. That may be something to try in a year or two when I get all the books out first. Let's focus on one project at a time so I don't start a million projects and finish none.
Exactly, a master of none. You don't want to be. Well, tell you what. Send me a link to your favorite book of yours, and I'll read it. Although I prefer audiobooks, so it'll
I
take me
know
longer to read it.
you've mentioned that, and I'm looking into and thinking about audio and switching over to it. And so, yeah, I've had a lot of people tell me I should read it because I know the inflection where it needs to be in the story and everything. And I'm like, yeah, but I have dogs. And so having the quiet time is not always there. So it's going to be a challenge to sit there and read a whole book. And that's the other thing is I don't like hearing my voice like read and say stuff, and so I might actually have to outsource that.
Well, I do offer that as a service, although I've only done it for my own book. So if you want a female voice, that might be an option.
Ooh, you with your accent, that might put a little, probably get more sales on it.
What is that, like California girl accent?
Oh, I was thinking there was a little like almost like Latina tang to it.
Chicana, yeah. Yeah, sometimes it comes out.
Okay, well, thank you for coming on tonight. And some of the people in the chat room asked us when our next live is, and I actually have to look at the schedule, and it is actually, wow, February
February
3rd.
3rd, right? Yeah.
Yes. And there will be February 3rd and February 17th. So those will be the two channeling sessions, 3 o'clock. They are half hour. And thank you all for tuning in and joining us on the adventure, because it really is an adventure, because we don't know until we start who's coming in and what we're going to be talking about. So that's the fun of it, I think.
Yeah, the 3rd and the 17th. Thank you, Lyric, and Thank you, Toon Skull. Toon Skull is an amazing producer and rapper, by the way, in his own right. Nice to meet you, Lyric.
Aw, thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah. See you next time. And of course, thank you, Michael, my wonderful host over here, who's also an author and a podcaster. And I'm sure he's other things too, but he's very bashful. So
I know, but I don't hold a candle to all of your backgrounds. It's like every time I learn more and more about you, I'm like, oh, sir, I'm really starting to coin the phrase. This is Laura, and I don't think there's anything she hasn't done yet.
well, we're going to make you a screenwriter too in about a year. So you'll be there.
All right. I'm sure I can come up with some stories to turn into screen.
Or books, like I did, into a screen, if you want.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone in the chat room. And so join us next week if you want. And we will have another guest on a new adventure. And so have a wonderful night, everyone. And we will see you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Okay. Technical glitch. I don't know why it does that, so we'll try again.